Let's start with understanding the basic function of money. This issue is very simple and something 10-year-olds should be learning at school, probably even younger. So, why aren't they? Because answers lead to questions, questions lead to answers, something which keeps repeating and something I call the interview process. The problem this monetary knowledge and Q&A process would eventually lead to for governments is the taxpayers becoming aware in many cases much sooner than many have that the people who we pay to look after our country, such as our education system, are stealing vast amounts of wealth from us. Then giving it to a bunch of private individuals who are then using it to buy up strategic assets like the media / talk shows, big business, in order to control us and tell us what to think. Don't forget, big businesses do a lot of advertising and they place themes into those adverts to normalise certain issues, agendas, making them look much more prevalent than they are. Ultimately, politicians are stealing off us so they can enslave us. So here we go without the smoke and mirrors. Question: what is money? Money is a tool, whether it be in the form of numbers on a screen or in paper form. Question: what does this tool do? It has two functions. First function, because it's the quickest function to explain. It facilitates the rapid exchange of goods and services. Example: a builder doesn't have to wait for the baker to need building work done before the builder can get a pie. The second function is the important one in order to fully understand how our governments are stealing from us for the banking elite. The second function is the dividing up of man hours. This is because everything that is made / purchased has come from the ground or the sea. It's man hours that achieves this. Example: if a country has $100 and the government allows some private individuals to create another 100 out of fresh air, the money in our pockets, bank accounts, or under our pillows now only has half the equity or wealth it did beforehand. This extra money now in circulation creates inflation and deflates the dollar. Another way to get your head around this issue: if a country has $100 in circulation, there are 10 people in the country all working 10 hours per week or pay cycle, and everyone is paid the same. They are earning $1 for every hour worked, with a total of 100 hours production. Then Mr. Banker creates that other $100. This means all of a sudden there's $200. But there's still only 100 hours of production. Each worker still gets paid $1 an hour, but that dollar is now only buying half an hour of production. It's now $200 that's being divided up into the 100 hours for the pay cycle. The bankers now have the other half. In this case, 50 hours of production. They will then lend us this 50 hours back with interest and all the fees that go with it, all thanks to the politicians voted in through a fraudulent electoral commission. The bankers will also use some of that 50 hours to buy those strategic assets. This thieving In this case, your half of every hour worked is very bad, but not quite as bad as it may seem, providing you're lucky and your wage is keeping up with inflation. If that's the case, it doesn't become a theft of half of each hour worked. It's just a one-off theft that happens again and again and again whenever bankers create more money. I've heard many say the banks are getting their wealth out of thin air. No, they're not. They're getting it from your hard work / pockets. This isn't tax. It's theft facilitated by our government. This type of theft can be hard to trace, as paper trails can be thrown away after a period of years. In New Zealand, it's 7 years. I stated earlier, money gets divided into man hours. Because of population growth, we are constantly getting more man hours in a pay cycle. This allows governments to steal more off us without it affecting inflation. There's another type of inflation which needs to be mentioned. It's inflation which helps to cover up this theft by making things not so clear. Consumer inflation. It's my speculation that it equals itself out or thereabouts. I feel, if anything, it works in favour with the thieves, creating the impression they're not taking as much out of our dollar. It's a result of supply and demand issues, which fluctuates both ways. In recent years, production lines have increased and have become more efficient. This, along with the advancement in technology, many products have come down so much in price it's almost not worth fixing them. And yes, in recent years, fuel prices have increased, which hasn't helped with inflation. Inflation over the last 62 years in New Zealand averages out to 5.5%. When I break down the factors and weigh everything up in the form of numbers, it's my personal opinion that the theft every 20 years from our dollar pockets amounts to 50%. It wouldn't surprise me if it was a bit more. A ridiculous amount of wealth, especially when there's so many social issues at play. And this is the answer. This is only and can only be speculation. I feel if I was to present my breakdown, it would only be a matter of time before it was pulled apart. This in itself doesn't concern me. It's the he said, she said, which it would create. Something the fallen ones love, as it takes attention off the bigger, more important issue, making progress in a better direction for the taxpayer harder to achieve. Okay, next subject. I'd like to note I've copied most of Liz's content and all of mine. Also made copies on copies and given them to like-minded associates who know what I've been doing. I'm well aware there will be people with substantial money that would like me to disappear, which may end up being a good thing for my cause, shedding much light on the fraud of New Zealand Loyal and the Electoral Commission. Although I can't help but feel they would run into significant problems if they tried. Something which I'm well aware of and pretty peeved off about is Liz has my phone number and address. She took it upon herself to collect them at the time of my donations. That's it for me for the year. I've well and truly had enough of dealing with this nonsense. Having to buy and install a security system and sitting behind a computer for hours at a time, a device which I have little interest in, which explains my poor editing skills which I really can't be bothered improving on. On that note, my plan for Loyal Recovery in the new year is to release new content every few weeks, as this is a marathon, not a sprint. Also, when it comes to information, less can often be more. It's action I'm really interested in, not so much words, and until we can hit that magic number of 15,000 members, nothing significant can be accomplished. Some of the issues I'd like to address in the new year is gender bending. I know it gets labelled as inclusion, and once upon a time I could have agreed with that. It's obvious we are now living in the time of promotion. I'd like to do a few numbers with regards to the ridiculous amount of revenue our councils are collecting from us, which no one wants to do an audit on, surprise, surprise, even though the likes of Auckland Council have an audit and risk committee. They wonder how much that's costing. I'd also like to address cultural issues, looking at how cultures are created and how they're being used against us. Also, taking a look at this energetic prison we're in, the one that limits our ability to process the atmosphere, especially as we age. Enjoy the boss man's birthday and New Year period. For now, here's one more clip for you. You'll see a snippet of Oprah. No surprises what she's doing. Fundraising. And talking her Phoenix nonsense. Surprise, surprise. Just after that, it's Liz doing the exact same thing. If you feel like it, have a closer look at Liz's eyes. Maybe slow it down.
Hey guys, it's KJ from The Scariest Movie Ever. If you didn't realize, currently we're living through the rising of the Phoenix and the New World Order. Lately, the rising of the Phoenix ritual is being displayed all around us, from ceremonies to TV shows, music albums, and even some strange incidents around the world. According to Manly P. Hall, the time will come when the secret wisdom shall, again, be the dominating religious and philosophical urge of the world. The day is at hand when the doom of dogma shall be sounded. The great theological Tower of Babel, with its confusion of tongues, was built of bricks of mud and the mortar of slime. Out of the cold ashes of lifeless creeds, however, shall rise Phoenix, like the ancient mysteries in the end of time. Barbara Walker, in her occult book, Now is the Dawning, writes that Egyptians believed that the phoenix was the representative of a god who rose to heaven in the form of a morning star like Lucifer after his fire immolation of death and rebirth. Around 30 years ago, The Economist magazine predicted that we'd have a one-world currency, a Phoenix one-world currency, by 2018. And you can see the symbol of that on the cover of the magazine. It's called the Phoenix, right, by 2018. So they're close. Ex-occultist and Freemason William Schnoblin writes about the Phoenix. It's believed to be a divine bird going back to Egypt. This Phoenix destroys itself in flames and then rises from the ashes. Most occultists believe that the Phoenix is a symbol of Lucifer, who is cast down in flames and who will one day rise triumphant. And Manly P. Hall writes about the phoenix, these were the immortals to whom the term phoenix were applied, and their symbol was the mysterious two-headed bird now called an eagle, a familiar and little understood Masonic emblem. According to Freemasons, the double-headed eagle is probably the most easily recognizable Masonic symbol in the world, even more important than the square and compass. In the ancient mystery schools, it's customary to refer to initiates as phoenixes, or men who have been born again, for just as physical birth gives man consciousness in the physical world, so the neophyte, after 9 degrees in the womb of the mysteries, the mystery religions, was born into a new consciousness. If you just turn on your television these days, it's very clear that the world is on fire. Everything's being set on fire. Seems to be a very common theme. But I want you to see something. This isn't the first time that the beast system has tried to burn everything down and build it back better. This has been going on for decades. Here you can see the Hawaiian state flag from 1959. And you'll notice the phoenix there. And the phoenix is one of the most sacred symbols of the Freemasons, considered the sun and the false messiah that has risen to become the soul of the sun god, Ra. The phoenix is all about death and rebirth, and of course, 2023, perfect timing for this. We'll be seeing a lot more of the phoenix. It's on our money. It's all over our money. It's all over America, the phoenix, the double-headed bird. The phoenix is a sign of death and rebirth, and that's exactly the cycle we're in right now. We're seeing the death of the fourth age and the beginning of the fifth age, the final age of man, or the age of Aquarius.
And there is such an incredible spirit going on in this entire community, people helping other people. And I know that long after all the camera crews are gone and the rest of the world has moved on, the rebuilding will just begin. And Hawaiians are a strong cultural people and a family-loving people. And with the help and support, you're going to see a lot of phoenix stories rising from the ashes here, because the Loa spirit is real, y'all. You're going to see a lot of phoenix stories rising from the ashes here.
National and ACT all stand for, all 120 in Parliament at the moment, from the ashes of what they would give us. We can rise like the phoenix country. We can rise like the phoenix country.
I would tell you to have safe holidays, but I'm not going to. I'm sick of the rhetoric that has everyone living in fear. So go and kick some ass, whatever that means, and I'll see you in the new year.